Today's guest is a New Zealand scratch DJ champion, and he has recently crash-landed back into Earth to share with us his newest creation, that is Leisure World. We have Alphabethead. Welcome to Setting the Scene. I am Prof Tahi, and today we are joined by Alphabethead. Thank you for coming along, bro.
A pleasure, bro. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, man. So real quick, off the bat, what got you started in music?
Oh, I was one of those kids who was obsessed with gadgets.
Yeah?
Like electronics, take apart the radio, like get in behind the TV. And my granddad had a turntable. And he'd play all this classical music to us.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't look at that rotating disc and not touch it. So I'd always put my hand up there, grab it, and just love the sound of going, ew, ew, ew.
I bet your granddad didn't hate it as much, didn't love it as much as you did.
No
he
way. No,
hated
I'd have to
that.
do it when he was out because I didn't know about slip mats and friction. I was, scratching the top. I didn't know I was scratching up the bottom. It was like scuffing the bottom of like
shit.
Debussy and Ravel. And then later on, I found out that has a name and it's scratching, and it's got this whole giant culture behind it, like hip-hop culture and DJing. And so it was that messing with this record when I was like 8 or 9. And the other thing I messed with was cassettes. I had the classic dual cassette deck, and I would never be happy just to play one song. I'd always like pause a song and then jump to the next deck. And so I didn't know what it was, but it was sort of proto-mixing.
Yo, so the mixing and the scratching were real early for you. How old were you like doing that?
This was like 8, 9 and 10. And I was so fortunate that we didn't have a turntable, but my granddad did, and I saw them weekly. And mum and dad had a dual cassette deck.
That's insane.
They were super common back then, actually.
Yeah, that's actually insane that you got yours starting so simply. Like, that's a real humble beginnings for what you would go on to do. How long was it before it progressed into something real for you?
Well, so I was doing that and I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And then, you know how you haven't really got a musical identity as a kid? You love it all, you know, whatever on the pop charts you love. But then this older kid, this like bro up the road who was because he was older than us, he had a sick skateboard and he had a tattoo, and we're like,
Yo,
that guy Chris Dericourt, he is the dude. And he was so good to us younger kids. With me, he was like, what music can you play? And I was like, I'm all music.
Yeah.
And he was like, here, bro, I'll hook you up. And he handed me like a stack of 12 CDs, and it was something from all genres. There was like Queen, Greatest Hits.
Yo.
There was Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. There was Cypress Hill, Black Sunday. So that you're getting my ear up.
It was a real mix.
Loved it all, but the ones I just kept going back to was like A De La Soul album and Cypress Hill.
Yeah.
And guess what? Both of those albums had that sound I loved as a 9-year-old. And they both had scratching. And then I was like, I gave them back to Chris, and I was like, more please, more of this. And then he hits me with Wu-Tang and Tribe. And then classic style of tale of boy falling in love with hip-hop. It happened then, 12 and 13.
That's so sick that this guy Chris takes you under his wing and he's like, here, let me show you the ways, young Padawan, of good.
It was mentorship. Oh, he didn't talk much. He was a real stoic dude, but he was like, here, bro, take this 10, tell me what you like from it. Isn't it the best? It's like hooking someone up with a hard drive now. Bro, give us a folder.
Yeah, bro, follow my playlist on Spotify, cuz. Yeah, that kind of stuff. That's so sick. And so, how old were you when you got onto your first own set of decks?
Oh gosh, like a lot of musical equipment. In hip-hop, turntablism is the worst because it's the most expensive. It took me till almost halfway through high school. I just mowed lawns and washed cars, and my bank account would trickle up. $2, $5 a pop, mow a real big lawn, get $15. It took 3 years to save.
Holy.
Yeah.
That must have been a real burning passion then. If you're willing to put 3 years of mowing lawns into one purchase,
Yeah. Oh, and this was like during the time of the birth of the internet.
Yeah.
So what kept my fire fueled was I'd be going on forums, and every night, even though I didn't have the equipment, I'd be reading up and I'd be practicing.
Getting your little fantasy
on. Exactly.
Yo, that's so sick. And how old were you when you first started hitting the stage?
My first gig was actually a DJ battle because I didn't know about clubbing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of DJs are attracted to the clubbing side. I love scratching, and the one outlet for scratching was the DJ competitions. You know, in hip hop, there's all the MC battles, and there's the b-boy battles.
Yeah.
And there was the DJ battle. And so this was year 2000, and I started going in battles at 16 and 17.
Far out. There's that video, I think, is it 2001 or 2002 of you at the DMCs?
Yeah, so like it was so crazy. My dream was one day I will battle, and when I was like 18 I became the New Zealand champ.
That is so sick.
And so up till then my only gigs had been me entering battles and then hide away in the room, hibernate until the next. But that like forced me to engage with people because I started getting emails like, oh, he's the champ, let's get him for gigs. And then it snowballed, and then I learnt about club DJing and actually doing a show, because battles is like 6 minutes, so it's like practice months and months on this really intricate 6 minutes that showcases everything you can do. So
that's nuts.
So it was, the battles was an avenue to show the world my scratching, and then I got really lucky and won a couple of comps, and then like the phone started ringing, and then I got to do gigs.
And was it along that same time, were you doing production back then as well? Or?
No. So I was really stripped back. You know how it took me like 3 or 4 years to get the turntables?
Yeah.
Then I'm broke. And then it would take me a month to get a record. So back then I had like a handful of records, 24 records, and I knew every groove inside out. And I didn't have a computer. It was just stripped back, no distractions, no internet, 2 computers. I mean,
2 computers?
2 turntables, a mixer, and like half a creative record. And that was me until I like left school and got a proper job.
Yeah, man.
And then it became a full-blown vinyl addiction.
That's crazy. So as well as your scratching and then going into the club scene, your production is absolutely nuts. I've been listening to a couple of your tracks from your Leisure World album there. I've been listening to Ransom, which I really liked how dirty and grimy it sounded in comparison to a lot of your other experimental sounds. It sounds like you went in another direction there. Yeah,
gosh. It was like the different like chapter. I don't want to say I fell out of love.
Yeah.
But when I was doing the turntablism, the DJ battles, there was a giant international scene. And you know how everything ebbs and flows. Like skateboarding was so big in the 90s, and then that dovetailed into the turntablism scene. And the scene, the opportunities to do what I do, they started drying up. And then what was emerging was the beat scene. Remember when there was that shift and everyone started not just listening to rap, they started taking note of what was happening behind the scenes, the producers. And so it was around this must be 2007 or 8. Then I was like, I've been scratching other people's music. I want to start recording scratch music and making my own beats. And so I sort of took timid steps, and now I'm getting to the stage where I've been doing that 10 years. So it was like the teenage years when I was a DJ, and then now the production. And now, gosh, I hate to admit it, but I'd say 70% of my time is beat making now, and I still love scratching and get on the decks every day, but it's only 30%, so it's the split. And now I'm getting obsessed with animation. I'm going to wrap this up, man, so have you got anything that you want to add to this? Man, I really enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to seeing your own course. And I'll definitely tune into your other reps. So good luck with the podcast, man.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you for all your contributions to the scene over the years, and thank you very much for coming along and talking to me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. That's been Alphabethead on Setting the Scene with Prof Tahi.